This is really exciting. Sorry, I'm going to keep on forgetting, so just remind me. Right. This is exciting. We got in the main stage here. All right. Today we have a wonderful guest. Yassan Osbourne is joining us today. She's an interesting entrepreneur. We're just going to have a conversation about her journey, but let's begin by giving her a round of applause and a thank you. A warm welcome
Thank you, guys.
for giving us the time today.
Is it on?
Yes,
Can y'all
thank
hear
you.
me? Okay.
Yeah, and so we'll just get started. But if you haven't signed, we have an attendance sign-in sheet, right? So just make sure if you haven't signed in that you do that before you leave. Yes. All right. All right. So welcome, Yassan.
Thank you for having me again.
Yes. It is our pleasure. So I guess we can begin by just going over your background, what company you are currently involved in, and then we'll talk about how you actually arrived there. But just give the students a sense of what venture you're currently involved in.
So my business is called Yasthetics and Wellness. So it's a medical spa which is featured with aesthetics and wellness services. So I go from a range of skincare to IV hydration, weight loss, a lot of women's health stuff, and men's health as well. So I'm in the aesthetics industry and regenerative medicine now.
Okay, so interesting. So like weight loss.
Correct.
How is that different than like a gym or?
So based on like people's biologics and how their bodies functioning, some people have like other comorbidities or issues that are having that prevents them from having like fast enough weight loss. So whether you're having high cholesterol or you have an hormonal imbalance or even a fatty liver will like dictate how you're gonna lose weight. So some people who do go to the gym, they need additional assistance like with a drug.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's
okay.
almost like a gym with the medications give like a synergistic effect.
Gotcha.
So like more weight loss, yeah.
Okay, so you're focusing more on the medical interventions.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So actually, I don't know if it was this. I think it was this class. There was a few students who had an interest in aesthetics.
Okay.
This is a whole new field to me, but
Okay.
it's blowing up, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is becoming so popular. So we'll talk about. I was in Thailand,
Wow. Okay.
going to a mall. There was a mall like connected to my hotel, so I was in there pretty often. They had one floor dedicated to med spas. Med spas where they did, so this is the kind of like aesthetic interventions where they would do like the fillers, right? Like it's all of that kind of stuff, right?
Correct. So there's fillers, there's Botox, there's other things as well, like more like stem cells that you can use human placenta and put in your face to give you like pain management. So it's a big world out there, and it's like fast growing.
Okay, and then so this fast growth, is it being driven in part by, is there new technologies that are being developed, like new interventions that weren't available before, like with these fillers or whatever? That's
Correct. So a lot of the new companies that I've seen coming out now, they're doing like a lot of clinical research and studies to see exactly, so they can get their FDA approval. So back in the day, stem cells, they were using it, but it wasn't so mainstream now, or exosomes as we may call it. So it is more innovative in how they're using it. So back then they may use it for functional medicine or to help to heal someone, but now if you had a scar and you were a burn patient or whatever it is happening to you, we can use these products and basically just make your like fast like healing and so forth.
right. Really, really interesting. So a lot of this is driven by the progress of technology, right? So I would imagine that because it didn't seem like there's probably a couple of factors that are driving the popularity of this, right? One of this is the technology, right? Because a lot of this stem cell technology just wasn't available, right? Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So that's part of it. But also, would you say that there's a cultural change in embracing these kinds of medical interventions to, I don't know, improve your appearance or?
So, based on my experience and like my cultural background as a woman of color, it's almost like was taboo for us to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think how society's kind of like moving forward, everyone wants to look good, feel good, be healthy, the
Yeah.
optimal wellness. Everyone's like bench pressing in the gym now.
Yeah.
So I think now everyone's more embracing it in a positive way. So you don't have to look overdone. You could just still be natural. You could have clear skin. You could be healthy, it, all with using aesthetics and wellness medicine.
Right. And I don't know, just from your perspective, do you have any insight into the reasons why this change, this shift has happened? I wonder, is it driven by this grassroots desire to embrace whatever's available to improve how you look? Is it driven by like a greater expectation to look better as you age? Or like is it driven by these sort of commercial efforts
And
to sell people interventions and drugs or whatever?
so, in my opinion, I feel like social media has a big thing to do with it,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So, if you scroll, and it's almost like if you're a person, like, we're people, right? And you're scrolling and you're seeing everyone's pretty,
Right,
right? So, I think it
yes.
makes everyone feels like you have to do this.
That's right.
So, I think because we're more like out in the open, I feel
Uh-huh.
like people want to just look better, no matter what their background is.
Ah.
Yeah, in my opinion.
So what I'm hearing is that what you offer is like a real life filter.
Yeah, like I like to say that filter free skin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
an IRL filter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's going to improve your life. So okay, really interesting. All right, so I mean we're getting into the weeds here. Before we continue down this path, I want to get a sense of what your background is and how you wound up in this place where you're a part of this.
Okay, so I started off as an LPN first, which is a licensed practical nurse. Then I went in and did my associates, which is in nursing. Then I did a bachelor's. Now I'm in my nurse practitioner program. Before this, I should say, I was a case manager. So I did like visiting nursing for Wartburg and Mount Vernon. I've worked in cosmetic surgery per diem. I've also worked in the hospital. But my like journey to entrepreneurship is basically my mom. My mom is an entrepreneur herself. She's a hairstylist, and I'm Jamaican by like I was born there, right?
Okay.
And she like in our culture we work really hard, and she's like, "Oh, you need to have another trade." So I'm like, "Okay, mom, I'll learn to do lashes." So like I taught myself how to do lashes and started my first company then, which is called Yes, I'm Lashed.
Okay.
Still a play on Yes, right?
Yes, yes, I love it.
And then she had a friend also who was an entrepreneur. She owned 2 nail spas in Jamaica. And she was like, "Oh, get a laser device and come and like rent it there." But again, I was born in Jamaica, but I don't really go to Jamaica that often.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I'll go and see what this is because I don't even know what a laser device really is.
Right.
And basically, I didn't understand it, but I was like, I'll do my homework when I come back home. And I took my first Botox class, and I was like, I should have done this my whole entire life. So for school, my plan also back then was to, in hindsight, it would have been I would have went to school, worked in ICU, did my master's to become a nurse anesthetist, like to do anesthesia. I wanted to move to LA and become like like to give anesthesia for people doing surgery. So it still came back full circle. So when I took my class, my medical director, he owns a cosmetic surgery facility. He took me on, and I was like, I just want to do this, and that's how it started.
Okay, interesting. And then how did you go to the leap from there to Yasthetics and Wellness?
A lot of how should I say it? So a lot of anxiety. So a
Okay.
lot of the times I'll look at what was happening and I'm like, okay, I can't do this. How could I do this? This is going to be imposter syndrome, they call it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I took a class. I was going to LA like one random weekend for a show, and they had like a sculpture BBL class. It's just like a class to do butt fillers.
Okay.
So I was like, I took the course when I went to LA, and every doctor there was starting over in the class. It was like 18 doctors. I was like the only nurse there, and they were learning the same thing that I was learning.
Okay.
So
What do you mean start over? They were.
They were leaving internal medicine to come to aesthetics.
Oh wow. Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
So
okay.
I was like,
Gotcha,
if they
gotcha.
could start over, then I could start
Of
over.
course, yeah.
And the lady who was doing the class, She actually was the chief medical officer for the school. She
Okay.
took a liking to me and invited me to a trip to Miami.
Wow.
And I feel like the doors just started to open. Like once I changed my mindset
Okay.
about what I could accomplish,
Okay.
I just found it. I found a suite, and then that's it. Yeah, aesthetics came about.
Wow. So really interesting. So and it's interesting that you made that connection that there was a change in your mindset, and then all of a sudden these opportunities started becoming available. What would you say might explain that? I mean, often we discuss academically that when you change your mindset, you notice different things, right? So there, or it might just give you the courage to pursue this, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could speak to
So I
that.
guess it's looking at it half full versus half empty, right?
Okay. Yes.
So
Yes.
once I seen that others, right, were able to start over and bet on themselves, I decided to bet on myself too. So me, my first betting on myself was to pay for my membership with the school, which was like a hefty investment, and I cried because I never spent that much money on myself before. And after I did it, again, imposter syndrome came back in my mind, and it was just like, oh no, you can't. How could you afford a storefront? And I realized that not everybody's path or journey is the same. And once you just believe in yourself and you just take those steps one step at a time, then you could accomplish whatever you want.
Yeah.
So it was just literally those 18 doctors that were there that was interested. And I'm like, well, we're learning the same thing. We're going to be in the same field. You
Yeah.
know, it just really changed how I look at things.
So I guess an important component that I'm hearing is that there was also like a social validation, right? Like you weren't out on an island by yourself, right? You're part of a community that are all pushing in the same direction, right?
Correct.
And so yeah, so it validates some of what you do. So I guess it that maybe gives you a courage, like an extra
Yeah.
courage to say,
Like
yeah,
we're all both jumping off the cliff
that's right,
together.
that's right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so interesting. So being part of a community then is probably important, right?
Correct. Who you surround yourself with, I think that's important because I started to eat, breathe, sleep what I loved. So usually I'll read two books a month about anything, right? So now the things that I decided to start to study or take up was all related to the things that I wanted to do, whether it's learning aesthetics, whether it's learning how to do AI or social media marketing. Like I just literally eat, breathe, sleep what I do at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And it's, it's so important. I mean, I was the same way. My journey was similar in that, I was part of a community of people who were entrepreneurial. And, so that sort of like validated this as a path. I didn't have family members that were entrepreneurs, but I had friends who were entrepreneurs. But then once you started, this is okay, this is a legitimate path to pursue, at some point I came to the realization that I have to take full ownership of my outcomes. And so you mentioned that you're reading books, you're working on yourself. So much, if I look back on my life, so much of my success is really about like that effort that I put in, right? And you have to, gain control of this process. And there's a lot that you can do, right? To empower yourself, to really put the odds in your favor. Because maybe you could speak to some of that.
So a lot of it for me is the time that I have. Like self-care is very important for me. So there was a point in my entrepreneurial journey that self-care was not a priority, and I seen how that affected me. Now I'm back in the gym. Like at least I try to do that 3 times a week to kind of like get my mind going,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Because I don't know what you guys think about if you work out, but my mind is like so blank. I'm not thinking about anything, but yet still it's like this powerful thing. I'm lifting weights. It's like really good. So that's one of the things that I do. Words of affirmation to myself, and try not to procrastinate as much because the procrastination, it really just delays some things, but you should also give yourself grace at the same time. So it's just really being self-aware about what's happening and listening to your body, listening to what your outcomes, because if you're not like really giving yourself 100%, it shows in your work,
Yeah.
so that's how I use it.
And so there's all of these intangibles, right? And, a lot of this, like we can't sort of pack into a course, right? And we often, stress the, I don't know, the more technical aspects of running a business and entrepreneurship. But there's all of these other intangible aspects that you have to adopt, right? And I know for me, it explains a lot of my success. It's not just, knowing how to market well or, build a website that, is effective. It's all of this sort of personal work that you do, right? Because entrepreneurship is difficult, right? This is not,
Yeah, it's not
this,
cookie cutter.
right? It's
Yeah.
it's not. Maybe you can speak to some of the challenges in making. Because one of the like a big moment for me in my life was making that transition to becoming an entrepreneur, right? Because there's an appeal to it, right? But it's an ambitious goal, right? To think, right? Can I be the one that rents out this store, right? It seems like so ambitious. And yeah, and so it was a big moment in my life was making that transition from, I'm not just an employee or someone that, but I can actually be at the helm, right? Directing all of this, right? And take on that responsibility and generate these more ambitious outcomes. But it was a shift that needed to happen. And that was like a big moment in my life, like a defining moment in my life, making that shift to becoming like an entrepreneur. And like, this is real, right? I'm really doing, I'm
Correct.
putting money on the line. So
Yeah.
maybe you can speak to that. I don't know if did you have like a similar shift or?
So the shift for me, right, when I opened, I always tell everyone, I was just having this conversation the other day. When I opened, I just knew I wanted to like inject and do this stuff,
Okay.
right? That was year one. So year two, I have a business consultant with Chase now, and they start asking me, what's your runway? What's your client acquisition? What's your KPI, your conversion rate? I'm like, hold on. Like, so the benefit, like with a class like this is awesome because I didn't have a class to guide me on how to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Right. So this year, my difficulties that I faced was really like I needed to know my numbers. Right. So
Yeah.
once I understood my numbers, I had to put things in place. Okay.
Yeah.
What am I going to do to gain clients, retain clients? How am I converting? What's my profit margins? Am I bootstrapping? That was a word that I just learned.
Okay,
But
yeah.
bootstrapping is what I did, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just really just. So I always say to my mom, she runs a store, I run a business. Because in our culture, you just do hair. You're not worrying about if you're LLC or S corp or anything like that. So I was raised with how she ran her business, but if I'm trying to extend myself and become better and bigger, right? I have to really understand what true business really is and to develop those systems. So that's where the switch is when I realized that this is not just a store, this is an actual business, sorry.
Ah, yes. Okay, interesting. Yeah, because you have to look at things from a different perspective. Like we actually begin this course by highlighting the difference between entrepreneurship and management, right? And there is a difference, right? And you have to perceive what you're doing in a different way. So you mentioned bootstrapping, right? So this is so I wanna get into what you actually did to take that very first step because this could be the most substantial, right, that you take in making that decision to do something entrepreneurial, and depending on the kind of business that you want to start, it could be daunting because it requires resources. I mean, especially if you're getting a storefront, right, that you're laying a lot of money out
Of
on the
course.
line. And for many people, it's like once you start cutting checks, that's the moment where it becomes
You're right.
real. Can you get into how you were able to take that very first step?
Okay. So for about a year, I did travel nursing, and that at the time was COVID rate, so we were getting paid pretty well.
Okay.
So bootstrapping is using your own cash to fund your business in theory. So I used my travel nursing money
Okay.
to fund my business. So
Yeah.
that's how it started. In fact, when I actually found the space, I actually wasn't making as much, but I knew I wanted it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to figure it out. I know that X amount of clients yield to like my rent. Once my rent is covered, that's the start.
Yeah.
And then I still did contracts for a while. Now I don't really do as much contracts anymore. but that's what helped to fund the business and for me to put back in and invest into it. So my 9 to 5 or my
Okay.
12-hour shifts are the ones that essentially got me to that step.
Yeah. So right, and this is common among a lot of entrepreneurs, right? So yeah. So bootstrapping is, just paying your own way, sometimes maxing out some credit cards, right?
Yeah.
Saving up money,
Yeah.
but it's also trying to minimize your
Of course,
expenses,
yes.
right? So, yeah. And so did you keep that job while you first opened?
So how it the company that I work for, because I'm still technically employed, they just actually emailed me that I have to pick up a shift or I'm fired, I guess.
Okay.
But it's called Flagstaff. It's with Northwell.
Okay.
And how at the time I came on as a traveler, so a travel nurse.
Okay.
But then how it was like if you don't have a contract, you can't pick up shifts. So I went to local. So a lot of the times I just kind of like did it as needed, like a per
Okay.
diem shift. So I don't really like. I usually do a contract once a year, but I guess I have to do like pick up one shift this week or something like that. But
Gotcha.
I did that for a long time. So I worked like 7 days, like
Okay.
3 shifts on and 4 days at my office. Yeah.
So that job had the flexibility that allowed you to pursue something, I guess during like regular working hours.
Correct.
Right. So that's good, right? And also, what a traveling nurse?
Correct. So a lot of these hospitals were having staffing shortages because of COVID. A lot of people
Okay.
changed their position. So a travel nurse is basically you get paid like a lower dollar amount per hour, but then you get these stipends. Like you get like an extra 2 grand tax free, or 4 grand, whatever it was at that time. So that's what a travel nurse. There's nurses from all over that goes to different hospitals. Like I did Arizona before. You just travel and just go to their hospital.
And were you doing any like aesthetic nursing work before you
Did
actually?
did this? Yeah. So my medical director, I did that at his office when I got trained.
Okay.
So I worked with him for a while, and then I left and did travel nursing.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So the travel nursing is not like aesthetic work. That's just
Yeah, that's just hospital work.
gotcha.
Bedside. Yeah.
Gotcha. But also, this is also typical, right? I mean, that you're converting some of your work experience
Correct.
into that entrepreneurial opportunity, right?
Correct.
And often that's the case because that is what enables you to identify opportunities, right? Because you're on the front lines of whatever services are being offered, so you get sort of an intimate look at how well this industry is functioning. You get to see maybe some of the customer pain points, what it is that customers truly want from a service like this. Was there during that while you worked, as an aesthetic nurse, was there anything that you noticed in that work that motivated you to start your own thing to say, "Hey, look, there's an issue here. I think I can do this better," or was there any of that?
So at the start of it, I just loved the craft of it.
Okay.
Right. So in nursing school, you learn anatomy, and even med school, anatomy and physiology. Right. So once you know the anatomy of something and you know how it functions, if something's wrong, you know how to fix it. If you
Right.
really understand A&P, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing. Aesthetics is still A&P essentially, because if you have a muscle and it moves and you don't want it to move, you use a certain product to stop the movement.
Gotcha.
So it's still like, and so one of the things when I was bedside or a case manager, I loved wound care. So like taking a really nasty cut and making it like like the skin healed.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
like results based.
Gotcha.
So a lot of it aesthetics is like that. I could take a thin lip and make it like a nice full lip.
Yeah.
I can make a flat butt a big butt.
Right.
Like, whatever it is. I do hair restoration as well. I can like some people, I can make them thinning and I can get your hair back.
Yeah.
So it's like, results based.
So it's very satisfying to see
Correct.
those results in your work.
Correct.
And it's so important in people's lives, right? These are like really meaningful interventions. But do you get immediate results? Like you don't get immediate results with some of these like injections, right? There's a healing process that you go through, or
So fillers, you get immediate results. You see it. You'll probably swallow a little bit more than the
Okay.
actual results, so you'll see what's happening. Hair restoration, you don't. IV hydration, it's like you'll probably wake up tomorrow, you'll feel hydrated. Hormone replacement, that's like over time, right? But some things you do have to wait. And that's that. And that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, and are you doing anything different than what your like previous employers were doing, or?
So one of the things that I had to like learn is what my niche was,
Yeah.
right? And who I wanted to service. So there's a lot of things that like now I mainly service like premenopausal, menopausal, and postmenopausal women, right? So there's things that's happening within our body. So a lot of people are not doing functional medicine as well. I started to incorporate that because I wanted to make you look and feel better from inside.
Gotcha.
So if your hormones, your vitamins are off, even your hemoglobin is off, like it can affect so much other things on your body. So your energy could be low, but you can do that through a lab test. So I have a lab in my office now that I do full testing to know your GI health, everything, so that I can optimize everything. So you can look good from within and shine bright.
Okay, and so and just clarify. So you mentioned a term there, unique value that you offer. So it's a unique value proposition. So just clarify what you mean by that.
So in the sense of like, so others just do injectables. I'm also incorporating wellness with the injectables if you need it.
Yeah.
So say for instance, you're a young person, you're losing your hair. You're gaining weight, your skin is off. It could be so many other factors that are that's happening to you. So what I do lab testing to find out how you're functioning to see how, besides us just putting like giving you a facial and popping a pimple, how can we better correct everything that's happening to you?
Gotcha.
So that's my unique value, I guess.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So this is something we talk about in this class. This is something I emphasize heavily in my 302 class. You need to establish a unique value proposition, right? You need to, first off, deliver value to the world, right? You need to offer a service that people are willing to pay for. But like we talked about, I mean, I was in a mall with an entire floor filled with these kinds of operations. So the next question is, okay, they value this, but why are they going to get it from you rather than one of the other, million operations that offer this, right? And that's what you need to do. You need to figure out what unique value you're delivering to the world, so you can separate yourself from the competition.
Correct.
Yeah, and so for you, it's more of this comprehensive
Correct.
approach. Was this something that evolved over time, or was this out of the gate? This is how you're going to differentiate.
So before nursing, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor, right? And then when I became a case manager, it gave me a lot of autonomy to like go into people's homes and understand what was going on with them based on their meds and so forth. A lot of the times the doctors relied on the nurses who were in the homes to actually make the deciding factor about what they think was best for the patient. So I'm not a doctor, right? I'm covered by a doctor. My doctor supervises my treatment plans. But me now being able to help someone medically with aesthetics is like even more of a greater reward, because there's things that people are like things that are happening within our bodies that we may not understand. And if you find like a provider to kind of help you with that, to guide you along the way, whether or not if I can help, that's a plus. But if I can refer you out to someone to get better help, then that's also a plus too, so that you could just feel better and more confident, more like ready for the world to conquer whatever you want.
Yeah. So interesting. Yeah, I emphasize this point of establishing a unique value proposition, and sometimes it's not clear, right? If you're excited, a lot of people enter entrepreneurship because they're excited about a particular industry, right, or a particular field, or a service or product that they want to offer, and they don't clearly have a unique value proposition. They're sort of blending in, right, with the rest of what's being offered. But they quickly learn, right? Competition forces you.
Switch, yeah.
That's right. To differentiate, right? To offer something that's unique. And so often this comes by way of just practice, and it evolves over time. And then of course the market is constantly changing. So your unique value proposition is constantly going to be changing. But you brought up something interesting. we often think of medicine as something separate than a product, but it's a product, right? And doctors' service is a service, right? It's a market service, just like anything else. And we just started talking about design thinking. Actually, we haven't started in this class, but next week we will start thinking about design thinking. And it's an approach to innovating within your organization. And the very first step of that is empathy, understanding the needs of the customers that you are serving. And often in medicine, there's this great distance between the doctor and the customer. And they lose touch often what the actual needs of the customers are, right? So you're sort of validating this approach in that you're able to recognize, given that you're on the front lines, that there are these additional needs that may not be necessarily being met by the doctor or can't be met by the doctor because the doctor's just not going to be aware of them. But that's exactly what this sort of illustrates, right? That need that you really have to fully understand your customer to see what their needs are, what it is that they value, or what struggles they are having, right? And essentially, this is what led, it sounds like, to your unique value proposition. This is what's given you a competitive advantage.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to highlight that, the value of this.
I think I'm gonna change my Instagram bio because you highlighted it, so I'm gonna tweak it. Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, no problem. All right, so you have a social media presence, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So now this is especially obviously in a field like yours, aesthetics, right? I mean, a lot of this is driven by social media, like you mentioned. How important is social media today to your business?
It's very important. Whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest now.
Oh,
And my son just told me about.
Pinterest, really?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
And I guess
interesting.
Lemon 8, that's a new thing. Yeah, so I just posted my first video on Lemon 8. I'm trying to
Wait,
see if she knows.
lemonade?
Yeah, Lemon 8.
Oh, lemon and then the number 8.
Yeah.
Okay, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
and what is lemonade?
I'm still trying to figure it. It's like a TikTok, right? But it's it's a little bit different. Yeah.
Oh, like tutorials. Oh, like okay, how to? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
once he said that, I was like, I should hop on the wagon because he's Gen Z, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
that's
So,
right. That's right. It's
yeah.
constantly changing.
Yeah, and now Pinterest, they're using SEO optimization to also find things. So like now I've created boards, whether it's my nails, my practice, my hairstyle, just to kind of like have a reach. So social media for me, it gets certain customers. So Facebook targets like my women in like 40s to like 50s and over. Instagram is kind of like universal. TikTok are like my young girls. YouTube, I post on YouTube, but it's just like the same video. So it's not like I'm making an actual like 30-minute video talking. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
And Pinterest as well is just to kind of like have those SEOs out so that it could just reach more people based on the things that they enter.
Okay. So, all right. So on this journey, right? So you experienced a little validation from the community that you are plugged in. It gave you a little confidence. You come from a family of entrepreneurs. You bootstrapped this operation, right? So you're saving up money through your job, right? So we can see this sort of trajectory. This is like a typical trajectory that a lot of entrepreneurs take. All right, and then you're ready to make that first step and actually cut a check. I guess maybe was the first move for you to actually rent out a storefront?
So initially, my first move was the storefront. Like I could still see I know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
But then I have to be realistic because I do not like to have extra bills, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things for me, it was like, how are people going to see me, right? I'm upstairs. I'm not on the storefront. But I realized that's worked for me. And when they, one of the marketing people, they gave me like a sheet to talk about costs, like ROIs or something like that. And it showed me that with just one room, what I was expected to make. So I'm like, okay, I have one room.
Right.
So let's do this thing. So I had one room and now I expanded into, I'm still in the same building. Now I have actually like 2 suites. So yeah.
Okay,
Still
so
working
it's
out.
so I guess so it's not like a retail storefront.
No,
Okay, so it's more like an
it's
office
like an
building.
office space. Yeah,
Yeah, like where you would find like doctors' offices, like things
correct.
like this. Okay, and then so all right, so you started with one room.
Correct. And now I have like a bigger one. Like now I have a bigger space with an extra suite. I had three, but my landlord asked me if I could give it to him back. So it was like, yeah, it's fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
But you had an arrangement with that flexibility. Was this important? Was this deliberate that you got a space that afforded you that flexibility to grow, or?
So I think with this new move, that was all God, honestly. Yeah, it
Okay.
was honestly
Sometimes
God.
we need a little bit
Yeah, I'm
of
telling you, a little
that.
sprinkle of Jesus, right? But it just happened. Like he gave me his office, which was like a bigger space than what I had. It's more official because it was how suites are. It's just like one room,
Yeah.
and I had to break it up. Now I have like a reception area, then I have my treatment room, and now the other space is an extension of that. So that one I'm going to do laser hair removal now.
Okay.
And I'm looking to hire someone to kind of like just do that part.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
And then, okay, so you got a space. What was your plan for getting like your first couple of customers? Because at some point now once you sign that contract, now you got bills,
Yeah, real
and
bills, yeah.
they're substantial. They're,
Correct.
they're they're probably at a level that would be difficult to self fund with your traveling nurse job, right? I mean, it's really going to eat into like your savings. So you got to start generating revenue, right? Where was your confidence level at this point as to where you're going to get these customers from? And yeah, did you have a plan for where your first customers were coming from?
Honestly,
Yeah.
no.
Okay, no,
Right?
that's it.
But I grew through word of mouth initially.
Okay.
But word of mouth cannot like just get you everywhere.
Yeah.
So now then you have to create plans, and then
Yep.
that's how I've learned what CRMs are, which are lead magnets, Groupon, whether it's social media advertising, Google ads. Actually, not being shy because I'm actually very like more shy than like
Okay.
I'm supposed to be. So like going out, like I remember one day I had to go and hand out flyers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I held everything like this. I'm like, how am I gonna
Yeah.
do this?
Yeah.
So it's really like an internal transformation
Okay.
to really go and get your clients.
Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever it is that you want. If you want to sell T-shirts, you gotta really be like, "Hey guys, this is my T-shirt."
Right.
Yeah.
But I wonder how much of that transformation is pushed by the impending bills
Of
that
course.
are going to become right. So
Yeah.
sometimes maybe you just gotta take the leap, make the commitment because that will provide
Of
right
course. Yeah.
the motivation to do maybe the kinds of things that you wouldn't ordinarily do. What kind of return you getting on flyers? Was that effective? Do you
No,
think?
it was like honestly, I only did it one time because it was like people just look at you, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And that was like early on in the game.
Okay.
Like my first like street fair hair, I was like so intimidated. Like I was
Yeah.
twiddling my thumbs, palms were
Okay.
sweaty.
This is what it's like.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but I have grown a lot since
Okay.
then. And I'm able to be more confident to say, okay, hi, I'm Yasam, and I have a business, and this is what I do.
Yeah.
So I had to just really learn that. And now, actually, I got more clients here being nervous than with the flyer, so it worked out.
Okay. And I appreciate your honesty. I mean, it's good to know that, not everyone that goes into this is just like brimming with confidence
Correct,
and
yeah.
courage, and that this is just all easy, right? It's not. It takes a while to get to that point where, yeah, you have a lot of courage to do all that needs to be done. Okay, interesting. And then so you've mentioned like a bunch of things. We don't really talk about marketing here in our entrepreneurship courses. I mean, we have obviously a marketing department, but so much of your success, rests on your ability to acquire customers, right? So I think
Correct.
one of the terms you mentioned, CRM.
Correct.
Yeah, so customer relationship management, like there's software out there to you got to manage all your customers, right? And then there's a process, right, where you're going to have leads,
Correct.
people who are potentially interested in, and then you got to treat those leads in a particular way. You want to send them a text message, you want to send them an email, you want to make sure they're plugged into your social media,
Correct.
because they may not want to buy immediately,
Correct, yeah.
right? And so you got to nurture that relationship.
Exactly.
And then so maybe you can speak to some of that process.
So my first take at CRM, I did not understand what that was. I actually failed miserably with it the first time. I think I got like 100 leads in like 8 weeks or so.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, if I had known what I was supposed to do back then, I would have like really like capitalized with these people. But really the CRM, now I've learned how to do it myself. So usually like when they go in, they capture, I have like, there's this like software now called ManyChat. So based on them hitting it, it sends them a message, follow me, then would you like to book? It gives them the booking link, whether it's like a free virtual consultation or they can actually just buy the product that I have. I collect their name in text message. I'm not really good with email marketing, so I like the SMS version because
Okay.
I design a lot of the things myself, but it takes too much time to do a flyer and all that. So it's quick to be like, hey, book now, 15% off.
Right, just a text.
Yeah, so it's a lot of data collecting. So it's just really being organized and having like a funnel
Yeah.
to gather all of that.
And we can maybe speak to some of the effectiveness of our analytics. How's Heinz's analytics on our email campaigns? It's a lot of work, right? And then and then we don't know what the return is. Maybe the return's
Yeah.
not that great.
Yeah, the click open rate. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow. I didn't know they had that part. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to be better with that. I'm trying to. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I just started like a blog, another weird thing called Black Girl in Beauty. So I'm like, I need to do better with that so I could send out those newsletters to like, to incorporate it with my business. So that's almost like one of those SEO type things too. So I'm like, okay, I really need to either do like today I was on a call with a virtual assistant to see if they could just do it for me because it's a lot with coding and see, I didn't know that you can even see how much they swipe up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So just so you know, we send out emails. We know who's looking and who's not. Okay? So make sure you see a Heinz email, you got to click open that email and read through it.
Yeah.
There'll be a quick now. Yeah, so now they have software that automates this whole process, right? And then you use their platform. They'll even probably have templates that you can use
Correct.
to make the process even easier. And then they give you all of those analytics where they tell you, how many you sent out, who looked at them. Do you know everyone that looks at them? Do you know if I look at them? Do you even have that data as well?
We'll pick that bone later.
Yeah. But look, one of the lessons here might be that we got to start sending out text messages because they're more effective, right?
Yeah, I'm very much quick to like see a pop up on my phone to see exactly what it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 We have the question time. Yeah, we want to. Okay, yeah. I mean, we can go on forever. I mean, I have lots of questions, but I don't want to steal everyone's thunder. Hopefully, some of you maybe have some potential questions that you would like to ask our guests. Yes, in the front. Yes, and we have a microphone.
Say your name and.
Hi, my name's Colby. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to compliment you. Before kind of listening to you and your business, I kind of had that closed-mindedness or maybe an ignorance like Botox and what it may be, because my sisters and everything were like, oh, maybe I'll go get lip injections and things like that. And I was quick to say, hey, you don't need to do that and stuff. But seeing how that you don't only approach it from a immediate kind of satisfaction look for women or men, but also trying to find the root cause of the issue by doing the lab work and everything like that. So I just wanted to compliment you and
I
say
appreciate
you've kind
that.
of
Thank you
changed
so
my
much.
mind in it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Minds
I
around
like that. Thank you.
Anybody else?
But can I just make a quick comment? I mean, this is also the value of customer segments. Maybe you need to reach customers in different ways, and maybe for like men who. Is your customers mostly women, or does it skew more women than men, or?
So I have men clients. They come for also different reasons. So I do have guys that come in for talks and so forth.
Oh, okay.
But they also do skincare, because beard care. They do hormones. They do peptides.
Oh,
They
oh,
do IV hydration.
okay.
You guys are not 21 yet, right? Yeah. Yeah. So if you had like a long night drinking, I do hangover helpers. So there's other
Oh,
things that
ooh.
I have different services to market to different people. Yeah.
Beauty is
Yeah.
extensive.
It is.
Yeah.
But I just love that all of this technology is available, right? So even the technology where you can do a heavy amount of drinking on a Friday night?
I can come to your dorm room and string you up.
Wow, look at this. They didn't have that available when I was younger.
No, they
Okay.
didn't. Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
Sorry, yes. I think we have a question in the front, yes.
Can you describe like a day?
Wait, we need a mic. We gotta document it.
Hi, I'm Shirley. Can you describe like a regular day, like in your business, like what that looks like? Because I know like you do a lot of things and multiple things, but like, do you have like assistants that help you, or like is it just you? So
I'm
like,
looking for somebody, honestly. But so usually in the mornings, I try to get very early, like not very early, like 7 o'clock. I'll I'll pray. I'll go to the gym, and then I'll like kind of like check my emails. I'll respond. I kind of like to do my social media engagement first thing. So I'll also post first thing in the morning as well to kind of like get it out the way. And then I live in New Jersey, so I have to come here to New Rochelle. And then whatever the system is for the clients, like I always like to make sure that the place is already nice and neat before like the night before. So I just kind of like see my clients and I'm locked in until like my last client. And then I've learned to shut it off at a certain time. So like by like 8 o'clock or so, I'm not like, if I have to respond to a client, I do it like after like 5 o'clock, and I'll like tie up my loose ends and close it down and start again the next day. So my start, like depending on what the day is, whether it's a beauty day or if it's a hair day, it all varies based on what my clients book.
and then I have another question really fast. Do you do like consultations, or do they book appointments based on what they want? So it's like, or is it both? Like, do you?
So how I kind of like approach my clients, I don't know if that's going to bite me later on. I do like very personal. So I give you my number. We speak about things. So before you book, you can always call and be like, okay, this is what I'm going through. Should I book a consultation, or should some people already know what they want? So they'll just book and see me. But a lot of the times I've built like almost like a sisterhood or a friendship with my clients. So they're more comfortable to just like, our consultations are like really chill. It's not like, ooh, like, so I have both options.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You also mentioned, if I could just build on that real quick, so do you have like a ritual? So you have this prescribed sort of routine that you go through to prepare for the day?
Correct. I try to be as like prescribed. But
Okay,
yeah. But
okay.
for the most part, I'm up at a certain time. I kind of like get me out the way, and then I like just face what I gotta face.
Gotcha. I mean, because all of this requires intentional effort, right? To be as productive as you are, to really conquer the day and rise up to the challenges that you're going to face as an entrepreneur. It requires, right, all of this sort of prep work, and you've crafted a ritual to help you with that. Yeah, this is big in the entrepreneurship, like. The whole like entrepreneurship community, like a lot of like the social media, the entrepreneurship influencers, they all promote like rituals, and it's just a big part
Yeah.
of the entrepreneurial. So, yes.
Hi, Yassan.
Hi, how are
My
you?
name is Dana. I'm good, thank you. My goal also is to develop my own natural health and wellness business and brand. And I was doing a lot of problem solving in the business building process. And one area of focus for me was building a team. So how does one go about curating their team for their business?
So I am actually in that space right now and trying to build that team. Because with my team building, what I'm trying to do now is understanding my weaknesses, and trying to find the people who can help me to do that. I literally do everything. I do the designs, I do the text, I clean the shop, right?
Yeah.
So if I can delegate the task with people who are stronger than me in those things, who are more organized, who are more structured, who know more about Gen Z stuff and can tell me about Lemonade, right?
Yeah.
Those are the people that I'm trying to build my team with. So I may not be the person that will be front and center to be like, hey guys, come over to Yasthetics, but I need someone who's a little bit more than I am to be that person for me. So just figuring out what exactly you need for your business would be good. You're welcome.
Yeah, make sure we make a connection because we know community is important. Community is important. Yeah, and I love delegating to people for things that you don't want to do or not great at. Yes.
I have another question, Jeff.
Oh, go ahead. Yes. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Lloyd.
Hi.
So with the new specialized AI capabilities in the medical field, I heard you speak a little bit about learning what it's capable of when you were talking earlier. I was wondering if you think that it would have any place in like aesthetic and wellness on the medical side, maybe like examining people and giving them like personalized care while you like still talk to them like in your office and provide care that way as well. And if so, like, how do you think you would use it?
So there's two things. So earlier this week, I have a friend who's a software engineer. He actually does very like big stuff with AI, and I was like, well, I think I need AI for like a therapist that's not like emotional and just give me logic, right? So I feel like they have like tools now that they're doing like assessment to tell you what you may need. For me, I use AI for my business for help. Right now, like I did like a template about a book, how to open a med spa. So I send the template with all the stuff that I gave, and I shot it to AI. I said, hey, make this better. So they're writing my book for me, right? And also like my strategies, they tell me how, like I ask them, what are the best strategies for New Rochelle? What are the target markets? So I use them a lot, like every day. ChatGPT is my friend, right? She, like it's like literally my first assistant. And they'll help me to schedule posts, how to like strategize marketing. So I use it a lot on the business operation side. I would love for myself to create like almost like a documentation tool for like injectors in how to efficiently like write our notes, how much units, that it's not so like tasky, like oh, we got to go in file 1 and file 25 to get to just one spot. So that's something in the future, but that's my future, like, you know, all the way down there. I have another question here and then you. Okay.
Yes, I actually had a bit of a similar question when it came to the usage of AI in your business. And would you say you would recommend, yeah, actually, would you recommend it to someone who's casually trying to get into uh, your your field of medical expertise and aesthetic?
Say it again. What's the part of
Like, would you recommend the usage of it?
AI?
Or yeah,
Of course,
or
yeah.
and yeah.
Like, so for me, I will never recommend. I will never not recommend something that I don't use. Like, I'm not gonna gatekeep with anyone, right? So in a lot of things, AI is very beneficial. It's not to replace humans, right? But I think it helps to like tweak it and like fine tune it, the word, the verbiage. Also like resources, because that's what I use to like get me a list of like virtual assistant companies. I'm like, hey, what's the best virtual assistant companies around? And they'll find it and tell me what the difference is and what the perks are. So I recommend it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
By the way, the guys are killing the game of the questions.
Hi, my name is Aiden.
Hi, Aiden.
So I have a question based on, I guess, the future somewhat. So if you were to expand your business, what location do you think you would go to and why? Like, in terms of, you think stability or job growth? I'd like your opinion on that.
So this is a thing that I think about often. The place that I would go is Brooklyn, right? Only because I feel like Brooklyn, Harlem, Manhattan, I feel like there's so much community there. And I wish New Rochelle and like Westchester will kind of like develop more of a community type vibe for business owners, whether it's in aesthetics or clothing or food or anything like that. And it is very fast growing there. I think when I look at like influencers, everyone goes there to go see like the new vegan spot or the new excursion or something like that. So that would be my first place.
Thank you.
Welcome.
New Rochelle is up and coming,
Yeah,
according
it
to
is.
the mayor.
According to the mayor. Yeah.
It
is.
sounds like there's an entrepreneurial opportunity to
Oh, no,
create that
I mean,
community. Yeah.
It's around.
No, we should
connect Okay.
with the mayor.
Okay, awesome.
My name is Melissa.
Hi,
Um,
Melissa.
was it challenging to create your business, and did it leave a lot of positive impacts on your customers?
So, what was the first part?
Was it challenging to create your business?
That was the easiest part. Creating it is really easy, right? In the essence of what you deal with afterwards. When it comes to my clients, I like to say yes. So again, I was saying to you that I kind of do like a personal approach with my clients. So a lot of my clients come and it's almost like therapy. Like, you go to the hair salon. So we speak about the underlying things of like a woman and her husband not feeling belong and men and feeling like they're not like, oh, I got to get me a girl. Like, so we speak about these things that it's almost like therapeutic and they help me as well. So I think I never really had a big group of friends, but I think I've become a better person since I've opened my business because of my clients.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, then
Like follow up with that question, like how do you separate the relationships between like you and your customers when like you're not like working? So like how do you separate and like, okay, this is work and then this is like my time. Like how do you?
I try not to respond until the next business day. And I like literally, I was like, I need to some people you need to have a buffer with in like understanding personal spaces and being respectful too. And be like, well, I'm sorry, I'll get back to you in the morning about it. So that's something I had to learn because they will call me 2 a.m. sending me like, oh, I want my face like this. We could talk about this tomorrow. So it's like really, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, as I'm growing, I can't be friends with everyone, but it's like, how do you still maintain that level of like professionalism, comfort, compassion, empathy, all these positive traits, but still have your time? Yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah. It could be a lot because everyone has different issues. Yeah.
Hi. Just to follow up what you said before about the marketing, I remember you saying that like sometimes making the posts and like posting on like Instagram and all these other different places are like it's like kind of a hassle to both create the content and you prefer like SMS messaging. Um, and also because you said that you're like a fan of AI and like you use it to create templates and things like that, do you think there would be some sort of like disconnect between you and your clients or potential customers if they see something that isn't necessarily created by you or created by like another platform, and then maybe you just don't have the same connection as the people that you originally built your business with?
Exactly. So over like in this summer, I had to kind of like take a step back and I hired someone from Fiverr to do my social media, and it was just different. So that's one of the things that I think that I have a hard time letting go of because it's how I create my videos. It's literally like a reflection of who I am and how I kind of want to market my business. So I think for me right now, it's better for me to just hold on to it. So like I've learned to be very good, in my opinion, very good at designing my templates. So a lot of it is like if I get to take some of the other loads off my hand, I could be better in creating more, even like just like the regular graphics myself, so that it still reflects my brand identity. Because not everyone, until I find that person that understands my vision, not everyone's gonna give that, and everyone's taste is different. So that's something that I hold dear to me.
any other questions? Jeff?
I mean, I can follow up with all of these comments, right?
Well, Jeff, you have 5 more minutes.
5 more
Wait,
minutes.
1 more question or less. I have to control Jeff.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex. My question is, have you ever had a dissatisfied customer, and how did you approach that situation?
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah.
And that is, so I've learned with aesthetics, right, is that you have to really sit people down and give them realistic expectations. And then even when you give them realistic expectations, you have to expect that they're not going to really take, in fact, those realistic expectations. And one of the services that I do is like a facelift. So I do threads and I lift the face to kind of like prevent the sagging. Some women, they want that snatch tight, like face. And I'm like, I always tell them, first thing first, you can't, that's not realistic. That's not what I do. So they've one lady asked for her money back. I'm like, well, that's not how it works. It's in the thing. Like, I'm like, but I'm welcome to give you something else or offer another treatment because we did discuss that you had these issues before. So it's just still being professional. She still comes back to me. And what she respected about me was that I was honest. I listened to her. I didn't push her off. I didn't have an attitude. And I gave her like another solution. So it happens. Not everything is perfect, and that's okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right, Jeff, it's back to you.
Oh, okay. How much time do we have? We saw.
Minutes, Jeff.
We have 5 minutes. I mean, these were amazing questions. This
Yeah,
is
they
one of
actually
the
very
best.
was,
Yeah, question answering group. I mean, we had a few good others, but this was really, really, really impressive. Great. I love these questions. Very insightful. I mean, it triggered a lot of questions in me. I mean, we covered a little bit about the transition. I think we began with the question of scale. And we've come full circle. One of the last questions were about being able to continue to deliver what you're doing in an authentic way. But how do you scale while being authentic? It requires you to delegate, right? And through that delegation, are you losing a piece of, who you are, in the process? And then it changes the company, right? I mean, this is a struggle that entrepreneurs go through, and this is one of the big challenges in being able to scale, is to be able to let go. I don't know, have you thought about that process?
So that's where I'm at.
Okay.
It's really, because I can get very overwhelmed because I am doing everything on my own, is really trying to delegate the tasks that won't change the culture of
Yep.
the business, right? So that I can really dive into it more and be better, right? If I can just all right, you guys take this.
Yep.
So that's where I'm at. At my sister, she's a nurse as well, but she is actually not a part of the culture. She is the opposite of me. She's dry, so she doesn't fit the brand, right? And that's it's not personal. It's business, and it's okay,
Right.
So it's like she would have been a great fit because she's already like certified and so forth. But then you have to realize not everyone fits your business.
That's right.
And that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, selection is essential to grow. We talked about, you're beginning to build a team. Selection is so essential to building a team that works, because you have to select people who are on board with your vision.
Correct.
Right? And you don't want to change people. That's difficult, right? You want to select the right people. But one of the big transitions that entrepreneurs go through is that transition from being an owner operator, where it's essentially a job, right? Where you're essentially doing everything, to being a business owner, right? Where you can delegate. I mean, for me, I would identify what are the most crucial aspects that deliver, the brand, the identity that I've sort of created. And hold on to that, but then I have to let go of everything else. And it's psychologically it's difficult to do because you have a particular way that you want things done, right? But the selection process helps with that. If you can find the right people who are aligned with your vision, it might be easier to let go of some of that work to them.
Yeah, I need it.
Yeah.
I do.
And it's a crucial stage that a lot of entrepreneurs go through in beginning to scale. All right, is that it? We've reached the end? Are we wrapping up now, or? Yeah, we want to leave. We want to make sure we make connections. Yeah, we want to leave enough room for you to meet with a personal. All right, so we'll end the formal presentation here. Let's give a round of applause for such a great guest. Thank you so much. It was really informative, very, very informative.